Hello, 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 friends. Nicholas here. Devo, TED Talks, Devoted Talks. You know, this place where we take ancient wisdom and practices and blend it with modern day experiences and synthesize thoughts and ways of thinking that may help end suffering in my life and or others, because I do this just as much for me as I do for others. This isn't for me to show off what I know, although it may seem like I know a lot. And in many ways, I feel like I do. But in many ways, I also feel like I just tune into the message and then I discover it, realize it, and deliver it. And who's to say what it is? I don't know. I would love to see a brain scan while I'm doing this, because I'm not sitting here thinking and meandering. It's not like I wrote a script either. I hit record, and then I just open my mouth and start, and things come forth. But oh, there was a path forward, and I lost it just as quickly. Oh, I don't know. Life is crazy lately, and um, I find a lot of help in being able to synthesize what is available to me to channel, to deliver. Um, and it helps me capture it in new and helpful ways for myself. Putting it outside myself in a new synthesis allows me to reabsorb it in new and fruitful slash nourishing ways. And like I said, it would be nice to do a brain scan to see where it's coming from. I have done those aura scans, and I was out at some rock, some mesa. I think it was at Devil's Bridge, and I felt very connected to stuff. And when they did the aura scan, they were like, "Wow, you've got a lot going on with your crown chakra and your third eye. Were you channeling recently?" And I was like, "I don't know. I was having a nice spiritual, energetic experience, and it's possible." Um, but that's neither here nor there, right? Some of this stuff in the new age world is meant to help us feel better about the world and feel better about ourselves. And there are genuine people out there, and there are authentic people out there, but some people, it's really about an identity. Many religions have an identity that makes people not feel bad about themselves, and in fact feel good about themselves, and or look away from the things about themselves that they find painful or challenging, and towards things about themselves that either they want to be true or are true, but has become more of an identity than just an aspect of self. So you know what I'm talking about. I call them bubblegum yogis. I call them bubblegum spiritualists, where there's a lot of flavor and punch when you first chew it, but then within minutes it's expired. It's gone. It has given you all that it's going to give you, and everybody serves their purpose. But I crave and I seek depth. I seek more than the average. I want to dive deep, and I want to explore, and I want really badly to shed some of these layers of habits and kleshas. Kleshas is seeds of things that seeds of habits that cause suffering in our lives. Not always suffering, but just make life challenging. And see the kleshas and understand them, and then not necessarily excise them, but learn how to integrate them in ways that they are fruitful rather than a weed taking up resources, or worse, a weed that strangles out the good things that you have in your life, or the good things that you're bringing forth in your life. I have many a time written things that later I find and go, "Wow, I needed to read that today." And it was something I wrote, but I wrote it in full understanding, or at least channeling of it at that time, sometimes 12 years ago. And then I rediscover it, and it's a message to myself and not anybody else. at least in that moment. I've talked about that before. It's crazy. It's nuts, but I'm here for it. And that's why I record these, because there's probably going to be a day that I listen back and I'm like, yeah. There's that thing that I either channeled through or that I at some level knew. Like, I do believe that there is a version of myself, maybe a greater expression of self, capital SELF, that knows all these things. And it's me tuning into that knowledge base in that moment to bring forth what is needed either now or in the future as a time capsule or recording for it to be discovered at the right moment. I think about how orchestrated things are. If that were to happen, like, how would you know to do that thing on that day so that many years later you discover it and it makes your day better? But it was you delivering it in the first place. I have had moments where I'm like, I can't believe I used to know that. And I'm like, why are you creating suffering and angst and challenge over something beautiful that you basically wrote a message in a bottle that came to you, back to you later, and made you feel better? Like, what could possibly be wrong about that? I mean, honestly, right? Like, self-deprecation and self-judgment sounds kind of harsh of a punishment or a deliberation when ultimately you found something that you either channeled or knew previously that found its way back to you to remind you that you knew it. You know, sometimes I say I have forgotten more yoga postures or, you know, fitness classes than some people ever know in their entire lives. But it's cool when I remember. I'm like, oh my gosh, I haven't done this in years. And then I get to pull it back out. And then it's like a new thing, but it's not really new. It's an old thing, but, you know, retro, right? Things come around in decades and styles will always return. I had a guy who was, you know, a 20-some-year-old, probably born in the 2000s. And he was in my class and he pulled his knit cap off. And I was expecting, like, you know, either twists or like little tiny braids and more of a puffy hair. And he had, you know, like a flat top. And I was like, wow, that took me back to the 90s. I was like, oh, it's coming back. Anyway, you know, I like to detour. Or as our current president likes to say, bob and weave. And if you don't understand it, then it's obviously just your deficiency. As if, speaking of bringing the 90s back, anybody know what that was from? Clueless. Anyway. If life is a series of returns and rotations and orbits and rounding abouts, why would we find it to be suffering if this newest opportunity gave us the chance to be different and we were able to do it? Like, isn't that a good thing? Isn't that a positive thing? And if we notice and understand that life is cyclical, then why wouldn't we have expected this in the first place? I do feel that as a society, and even, you know, in the yoga and Ayurveda, we have lost its history because there isn't these generational bridges that are passing down information. Like, imagine having a grandparent who has had so many experiences in life, and then they transmit to you what they understand about life and what they know about life so that you're not blindsided when these things happen to you. You know, the Western world has lost a lot of that. And, you know, the yoga and Ayurveda world hasn't maintained it very well in the West. It has become commodified and commercialized in very similar ways to most other Western experiences. And I believe that was how it was meant to be, because that is what's happening now. But I do know that there is power in the paramparā. There is the power in the teacher to student communication of the knowledge, so that in application it becomes wisdom that can then add to the compendium, so then that the next in the line can gain more and then live more and then add even more through their experience to the paramparā, or to the procession of lives, or to the teacher, student, the guru, and the student. And so is it a more powerful way of doing it? Maybe, but I think it is contextually. What if you being in a spot that you channeled through knowledge or brought forth knowledge and you finding it again later, isn't that you just being the teacher in that moment? Isn't that just another avenue for the universe to help you learn and help you adapt and help you adjust? I think so. So, yoga and Ayurveda would offer to us suspend judgment, suspend labeling, suspend things that make things so concrete that they become abrasive and heavy rather than light and pervasive or penetrating or, transformative. If life has been extremely challenging, maybe start writing, because maybe there's a future version of you who can benefit from what you had to say now. Even it feels like you're whining, complaining, moaning, bemoaning, or not having a great experience. You don't know what it could lead to. My hope is that it leads you to be well and be free. Namaste.